You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production.
The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans. This is episode 180 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, proudly presented to you by technicmotorsport.com, duramoose.com.au and Yamaha Motor Australia. I'm your host, David Hogan, the physiotherapist who knows the injury needs and fitness needs of our sport of motocross and supercross. And this is the AlwaysMoto show here. And we go through everything and anything about moto because it's always about moto here on the AlwaysMoto network. This week's show, we're going to cover a bit of the Super Motocross 2026 series. Obviously, Daytona's just been done. We're going to talk about the injuries so far. We're going to do that all with the contractor here, Ben Grinly. We're going to talk motorcycle New South Wales state titles from Canberra that I was at on the weekend. And as you might tell, my voice is a little bit trash from talking for nearly 18 and a half hours across the weekend's live stream that we had going there with my partner, Russell Hicks from Power Sports Central. So we had a massive weekend down in Canberra. We'll talk some of the action that was there because it was basically a mini Oz Pro MX National. We had a lot of the top guys there trying to get some track time on the Canberra track because it's part of the national series this year as it was last year. So we'll chat a little bit about that. And later in the show, we're going to be joined by a special guest. It's an MX3, SX3 up-and-comer from Australia. He's a privateer. It's number 23 of Corey Eisel. So we'll check in with him. So let's talk about some of the things that these Hondas, Kawasaki, Suzuki's and Yamahas have in common. Well, they all use KYB or Showa suspension and they service them with genuine parts and accessories to make sure that these things are performing the best they can. Now, the KYB and Showa have an Australian distributor and that's technicmotorsport.com. They are in Sydney. And why would you use non-genuine seals, wipers, bushes, and other consumables when those genuine parts are available, perform better, and are usually only a day away? TechnicMotorsport.com is the place to go to for all those genuine KYB and Showa components, from seals to fork tubes to internal individual components and A-kit suspension sets for both KYB and Showa. Technic has it. Use the Find My Bike tool on their website. Find all those compatible parts. New parts are being added all the time. And if you're not in Australia, that's okay. Technic has a currency converter on their website. They ship daily with DHL and it's to most countries. So check out technicmotorsport.com for all your suspension needs. Don't forget our other sponsors on this show here, duramoose.com.au, Yamaha Motor Australia. We've got that WR250 in the shed. We're going to start bringing out some content on it very, very shortly. I've just got to get recovered from that weekend of talking, and we'll be right into it on the WR. Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, Tech 167 3D Printing. You'll hear more about these companies throughout our many shows and different options here on the AlwaysMoto network. We also have our t-shirts available. They are $25 plus postage and handling. I'm wearing it right here. This is what you'd get if you bought one from the show, just to show your support and to rock it at the races. That's what we want you to do to get that logo out and about in the community. If you want one, email info@alwaysmoto.com. Put t-shirt order in the subject line and we'll get in touch regarding payment via PayPal. Now, speaking of PayPal, you can always donate to the PayPal account just because you might not want a t-shirt. And all those links and supported discount codes that we have to go with along this, because Duramoose, we have a discount code. And if you're buying mooses, you could really use a discount code. Trust me, they're expensive. Get onto our link in our bio. The show notes below this YouTube has it all. But if you're in the YouTube now, and Benny, we're going to bring in the contractor right here. We're going to just change screens. Benny, we've got in our YouTube now, you can actually donate via the YouTube chat because we are now at a point where we've got step one of monetization working. So hopefully we might actually get somewhere with this show in the near future.
Yeah, how you going, Dave? That's good. Yeah, hopefully we can get some donations in there. Maybe someone donates something and asks a stupid question while you're live and they want to,
Well,
silly question for us, and they want us to answer it, or we'll see.
what's the saying? There's no such thing as a stupid question, only the one that's not asked. So look, get in there, put something in there, and I think I put in there about that you obviously can make the donations there, but if you donate and actually donate more than $5, it's set up so that it goes a certain color. I think it's green. If that shows up in there, that question will be answered, or whatever your statement will say it on here, so long as it's not crude and vulgar or whatever like that. So yeah, if you get in there, you donate $5, put in there what you want to say and or ask, and we will jump on there. So we'll have that open on the screen. Benny, we probably need to have you looking at it as well as me, because I'll probably miss half of it sometimes. So yeah, we'll get to them, but that's the first step, is that we're there. It's available now, so it's something new in the chat. Please use it, basically, because you help support the show and keep this thing running. We're getting more and more content, more and more connections. We're growing there slowly, so yeah, it's good to see. Now, Benny, let's talk straight off the bat. Daytona. Now, I didn't get to watch it live. I was obviously a little bit busy Sunday morning. I was on stream from about, I think it was 6:45, 8 o'clock, somewhere in there, talking my own nonsense for about motocross in Australia and the state titles. But Daytona is a massive event. I love watching it on the TV because it's actually a very different visual compared to other supercrosses. Now, yes, watching it in person, and I had a friend of ours reach out and tell me that they were there and got to do certain things, but they couldn't see very well. So being there isn't necessarily the best part of Daytona, but obviously there's other things that come along with it, like rushing the track at the end of the event and walking around on it. That's pretty cool. You just don't get the best visual, but watching it at home, I love it. It's a great thing to do. Different scenario, different track layout, different surface. It's just, I reckon it's a cool weekend.
Yeah, it's sort of, I think I explained it to someone on the weekend, is it's sort of like, their Bathurst in a way to us for the supercars. It's that different round. It's exciting.
Yeah, good matchup.
Yeah, you sort of wait for it, through the season, then it hits, and the racing is always brilliant. And always throws up some things to laugh at, or things to definitely talk about. But I think for the fans too, it's not often that fans get to, I know at the point of rushing to the podium, they're not really looking at the track, but it's not really often that fans get to go out on the track after a race and just see what it's actually like. So I think that's also cool as well.
Yeah, that side of things is pretty unique to Daytona. Obviously, they've got the bit now with the playoffs where they can bring certain fans. I think it's a different ticketed bit that they can go into, like the podium area and be, at that ground level looking at the podium up close, kind of like the front row of a concert sort of thing in a standing section. That's what they're doing. But Daytona, where they just literally go their track side, because they're just there with like a temporary fence, and they just literally let them. Now, I noticed too, after those issues from a couple of years ago where they rushed when the riders were still trying to finish that last lap, they actually had a bit better, security there, and like they literally went, right, now go, and you could see like the gates move, and they all went for it. So that side of things has got to be pretty cool. And just to be able to wander around and, like if you're a kid, walking on the track would be cool. But, I'm sure as a kid, I would have been picking up some of the tear-offs and being like, oh, I bet you this is Eli's or something like that. Having that little souvenir to take along, that's got to be cool. But just being that close to it all, and the fact that it's you're walking on like NASCAR history as well in terms of the oval and the grounds and stuff. So, yeah, very different, but one day maybe we'll get there. But in terms of watching it at home, it's probably one of the better ones to watch at home.
Yeah, it's not. You hear a lot of people say it's sort of hard viewing, and it's such a long track. Like you've got this wide long track to try and look at. And if you're at one end, you probably can't really see the other end. If you're in the middle, you can probably see a bit, but yeah, and like being on the ground right against the finish line there is probably, awesome as well. But yeah, we do hear that it is hard to sort of see.
Now, did we expect any less, like in terms of the result from a 450 side of things with Tomac? I know last week we talked about, and I brought up the fact that I thought there was a chance here for Hunter to really steal some momentum by going back to back early with those wins, with a win again after getting his first, and also to break Tomac at his favourite venue would be a pretty cool thing to do. Now, Tomac obviously won, but I feel like from my comments, just to back myself up here a little bit, Hunter did just about everything possible to do what I was talking about doing. He was fastest qualifier. He got a heat win, and he was running at Tomac's pace, if not the faster, and particularly at the death. Like, I hear that he did the fastest lap on the last lap of the track. That's pretty unreal, because that's when it's at its worst and you're most fatigued. So he didn't let Tomac just walk away with this thing. So I think, as much as he didn't get the win itself, maybe that trophy gave Eli the business for a reason, because it was meant to go to Hunter on the night. Maybe I'm making something up there, but I think Hunter still did a great job in carrying some momentum forward. He still holds that red plate for another week. Yes, Tomac got, 8 wins now. That's impressive, but this battle continues to rage on, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of expected it to be a little bit closer. I expected it to be those two up front, like Hunter and Eli, but it just, he sort of got out front once he passed, him and Kenny, and just sort of disappeared. Hunter was closing in towards the end, but I think by that point it was a bit late running those fastest laps towards the end. But I definitely thought it would probably be a little bit closer between those two, and then I thought that Kenny and Coop would probably have a good battle for that last spot on the podium, but they were sort of, a ways apart as well.
A lot too, didn't they?
Yeah. So I probably expected it to be a little bit closer between the front four, but in their own battles. But yeah, it's a little bit quiet.
Yeah, so championship implications now. Obviously, there's 1 point between Hunter at the top and Eli, but now Roxon and Webb are both equal on 20 points back from the lead. So they're both sort of starting to scrape on that point. And I talked about Ken last week probably dropping the toe, but they're both now at the point where they're like literally hanging on by a fingernail to this championship run here. Like, they are almost a race out of reach. And if that could basically this weekend, if Hunter wins this weekend and they get a third and a fourth, they're both then basically right at that point where they're a race out of the mix. And that sort of is the point usually where they tip out of favour and aren't able to regain that many points. For Kenny, I don't know if you've ever seen him do anything better than that towards the end of a season, particularly Supercross, because of the known issues and health side of things with him. Obviously different time this time around, but it's not looking good for either of them, right?
Yeah, and with the Triple Crown this weekend, Kenny's usually pretty good with his starts, and he's sort of good at Triple Crowns, but the other two are as well, and Coop at times. So again, we're in territory where all four riders are really good, and there can only be one winner, obviously. But yeah, the points play out after this weekend is going to be crucial.
Yeah, I could see this one. Literally, we're down to the point where obviously we're not sure what's the go with Chase at this point. The information is pretty limited after that little midweek crash or whatever it is that's going on there with a supposed back and hip issue. But if he doesn't turn up, let's say we've got just the four. We got the Webb, Roxon, Tomac, Lawrence. I could see those four going 1 through 4 in 3 different orders across the 3 different mains, and basically somebody just popping out on top, right? And obviously, ideally, as the Aussies here, we're talking about Hunter being the one on top, but all 4 of them are very capable at Indy. They've all had good results there in the past because of the technical rutted track. They're all pretty good at Triple Crowns. Hunter was good earlier, other than that one little tip over. He would have won at, what was that? I can't even remember where that was, but I think it was Glendale potentially. But no, it wasn't Glendale. Where was it? Anyway, I'm making it up.
One before Glendale.
Yeah. So, look, he's a chance at this. In all of them, and all 4 of them are a chance. So it could be anyone's really, But like I said, if Webb or Roxon or both of them end up 3rd, 4th, or worse in this round, they drop off. They're at 25 points, right? If Hunter wins, so it's probably not a make or break weekend, but it's like you got to get a solid result and be in front of Hunter for both of them to sort of be keeping a finger in this race, to hold onto that toe that I keep saying about. So, yeah, interesting times. the tooth, I mentioned it there a little bit. What a weird situation, right? Like you're watching that post-race show, and like we were sitting there after the Sunday coverage had ended for us in Canberra, and Russ, my partner, goes to me, he goes, "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "I haven't seen nothing, mate. I've been literally barely touched my phone from outside of the information I needed off of it for the call." He goes, "Check this out," and he showed me the video, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on there?" So, and then watching it later I watched it all Monday night, and we stayed there watching it to see it. He fully smashes his face with that trophy, and man, that was weird. I don't know what else to say about it. That was weird.
Yeah, and in slow-mo, someone slowed it down and put it on socials. You can actually see the tooth bounce out of his mouth, bounce down his chest, and then on the floor. And then there was obviously photos on social of his tooth just laying on the floor there. But yeah, pretty bizarre. And as you would expect, and I don't blame him, he was not happy.
No,
he was not happy after that.
I was surprised that he obviously, we're talking about the fact that he literally probably 30 seconds after that impact, he sort of had the, Cooper and Hunter and Ken there sort of looking at him, consoling, asking him if he's all right. And then when he realized, he just beelined it straight off the stage. And I did not expect him to walk back out there, 5 minutes later or whatever it was, to then spray champagne with the crowd. I fully expected him. That was the last we'd see of him until next week. But yeah, obviously the funny part for me, I don't know if you noticed this, but when he walked around the back of the podium area, his team was there, and he went up to Jay Dungy was there, Ian Harrison was there, and somebody else was there. I can't remember who that other third person was, but he told him, he's like, "Oh guys, I just broke my tooth on the trophy," and Ian Harrison is laughing at him. I don't know if you saw that, but he could not contain his laughter for it. Jay Dungy was genuinely concerned. But Ian Harrison, team manager of Red Bull KTM, is laughing at his rider's misfortune. I thought that was hilarious.
He was probably just more worried about the win and was like, "Go on, get back up there."
I don't know, but like maybe he was like, once he realised that it probably wasn't going to affect him turning up next week, he's like, "Oh, that's funny, sucked in." I don't know. It's probably it's not part of a bill that he has to pay either from a medical point of view, so it doesn't matter. But just the response was interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if I actually said to a mate that how many dentists this week will reach out and be like, "We'll fix it for free, come see us, blah, blah, blah." Not an hour later, there was someone on socials that was a dentist. He had a page, and he was calling out Tomac saying, "Come to our resort where we have our dentist, stay the week, bring the family, we'll fix your tooth for free." Not even an hour after it happened, they were already straight out trying to get him to come and let him fix it.
I do wonder, like obviously we talk about injuries, and I'm going to have to add that to the injury list at some point just to keep accurate records, right? But it's not going to impact nothing. But I don't know about teeth getting fixed or anything, right? But what's the go here? Like, does he get it fixed this week? Because I know he normally, and my wife Jen pointed this out, he's religiously wearing a mouth guard when he rides. So for him to obviously get smacked in the tooth with a with a bloody trophy, probably not 5 minutes after he's taken a mouth guard out, is probably a little bit insulting in the first instance. But if he gets the tooth fixed and then crashes and breaks it off again, like, does he get it fixed this week? Or does he wait until a certain point where he's got a couple of weeks? Like maybe he gets it fixed next week, because I believe there's a week off after this one. So we'd have a 2-week break. So does he turn up with the whole, cut half tooth for the bogan look for the week, or has he already got it done? What do you reckon he does, Benny?
Well, I got to laugh because I had the same thought about the mouth guard. He's done interviews. He's done interviews after heat races with them, with the mouth guard in. So that was my same thought, but. It's a tough one. I think he did the press conference and he wasn't real stoked that he had to talk and was trying not to smile and show it. And for someone that's, probably going to get asked about it a lot this week and probably be in the limelight, I'd say he's probably got it fixed. But if he hasn't, good on him to just let it, let it go, keep the story going and whatnot. But I reckon he probably had at least something done just to cover it up, even if it's temporary.
Well, you'd think that the nerve, like he broke that tooth in half, basically, from what I saw. You'd think the nerve would be exposed, so you think that'd be a difficult thing for him to eat and drink, at least, if nothing else. So you'd probably get it fixed up from that side of things, I would think. But I don't know. I had that thought about like whether it would be worth waiting the week and letting it actual set when he's not going to get roosted in the face potentially, or whatever, from another competitor. So anyway, we'll see what he does. Just completely bizarre situation, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty. And I know it wouldn't have happened if it was a medal, but you always see people biting a medal. Imagine if it had happened, like they had a medal around his neck and he was actually biting it, but had lost the tooth because of it. Like it would have been, it would have been funny.
Yeah, look, it's an odd scenario, that's for sure. So anyway, 450 wise, it's down. Yeah, Hunter, Tomac, and we have to start calling him Chip or something. So. And in 250s, bit of an interesting day in the 250s, to be honest. I thought for a point there that Joe Shimoda was going to be the man, the way he was looking real feisty, and he's both in his heat and he's in the main event. But in both situations, he sort of just didn't quite have the finishing ability, let's say, and whether that's still to do with the fact of his limited time on the bike or his potential limited fitness abilities. But yeah, he was looking a lot spicier to push the start of those motos, that was for sure. But obviously Seth Haymaker bounced back from what would have been a heavy impact in qualifying. Watching that replay, that was a sudden stop. Like that whole saying, I've said this a few times on here about Jeremy Clarkson's favourite saying about, you don't get injured going fast. Nobody died from speeding. It's just becoming stationary. That's what gets you. He became stationary in a matter of very short space time.
Yeah, and I sort of called him out last week. I thought that he would probably do better. And you said that, it's pre-season or off-season, had the shoulder injury done. That was sort of my first thought, like you've hit that wall now, how's the shoulder? And then, come out and probably did what I expected him to sort of do last week.
Yeah, like he just got a good start, right? Like, and just disappeared. So obviously it didn't impact him, but I'd just be curious, and this is one that comes back to some of the conversations we've had at different times on the show and within our group chat about like helmet technology and reading it, and our mate Helltech in there about trying to get to his point of a sensor. But I'd just be curious what that G-force impact was at that point, because as much as he's not concussed, he may have been, or at least it may have registered to a point that he should have had some sort of assessment. But I guarantee you there was no assessment because he stood up and walked off under his own power. So just a curious situation. I still think we should be doing better in that scenario, but for whatever reason, that's where we're at too, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and you got to think, like, obviously it was a hard hit. I'd be interested to know how he was feeling throughout that race. I sort of thought towards the end he might fade a little bit because of that crash, but he kept it, kept it upright, kept it going, and ended up with a win. So it's good to see. Yeah,
and so the other one I want to bring up in here before we move away from Daytona was Cole Davies. Cole can't get a start lately. The first two rounds have not gone well from him on a start point of view. But man, can that kid ride once he gets to open track. Like his whoop technique, as much as he is a little bit loose in some points, holy smoke, can he really go through them 99 times out of 100, like at a pace that not many other people are keeping up with, and in any condition in those whoops.
Yeah, I think if he gets a start, I don't see anyone catching him. He's just that, he's quick, unless he falls off. Even then, I think he'd still probably have enough gap.
Yeah.
Just that whoop speed and speed all round is, ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one other thing to bring up about Daytona before we move on. Our interview last week with Scott Meshy must have done the trick, mate. He got into the main event after he hadn't had one for nearly a year.
Yeah, you must have motivated him. I'm sure he would have been stoked with that.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting a little thing from our guest here that's meant to be coming in shortly, but he hasn't got our link, so I'm just going to fix that up. But, look, that Meshy thing, the only part of that too, that crash that he had, did you see that? He destroyed a helmet in the main event. So he made the main event, but then, ate it. So...
Yeah, and we lost another visor. Haven't seen too many visors this year that have seemed to have gone walkabout compared to last year. There was sort of, a few each weekend, but the visors have seemed to stay intact. So I think that's probably the first one I've seen, I think.
Yeah, no, that's it was just an interesting one for him to have such a high and then have such a sudden stop,
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll try and get this resent, and if it don't work, we'll have to get another email from him. But anyway, all right, while we're waiting for this one to work out, Motorcycle New South Wales state titles on the weekend. I mentioned it at the start. Down in Canberra, we had some interesting, 2 days of coverage, massive 2 days. Like I said, nearly 18 and a half hours, I think it was thereabouts, of YouTube live stream that I was part of with Russell Hicks, doing commentating on. Had a very good stream run through this one, considering it was our first go. Had a bit of fun on the RM125 doing a track preview. Got pretty much bogged down in most of the times trying to cut across the rip track and couldn't make a couple of the jumps because it just absolutely ate the power out of the 125. So that was interesting. A few people commenting, got some spotters around the track telling me that I was useless because I wasn't jumping the jumps. But you jump it when the damn thing bogs down beforehand through the rut and stuff, mate. Jesus. Anyway. So that was fun, but then we basically had a mini national, Benny. We had Jed Beaton, Reese Bard, Ryder Kingsford, Cade Kingsford, Todd Waters, Dylan Walsh, Kobe Hantis, Reed Taylor, just to name the couple that come popping straight off the top of my head. It was insane. And they were running MX1, they were running MX2. Some of them did both, some of them did one or the other. But I wanted to point out a few things. One, Jed Beaton, obviously he's fast. But when you watch him up close, as I was doing, doesn't look like he's fast, but he's out front leaving people.
Yeah, he was pretty quick at Canberra last year for the Pro MX round, in the wet and the dry. Because I think the first moto was dry, and then that second one had a rain, but he was quick in both. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me down there. But coming back from the injury, I'm not sure how long it's been now, but he'd be looking for that match fitness and trying to get ready for round one at Wonthaggi.
Yeah, no, and obviously they've done so. Beaten the Kingsfords. They did Wonthaggi Club Day the other week because obviously it's a national track. They're now doing this one. Just trying to get this one through. There we go. Trying to do Canberra because it's another national track as well. So they're obviously all trying to get a bit of a base setting or at least a feel for where the track goes and how it develops, which is cool. It meant that we had obviously a great entrance and roll up for those MX1, MX2, AB classes. So that was wicked. But Ryder Kingsford, Cade Kingsford, I was a little bit interested in their aspects of their performance on the weekend. Ryder's obviously on a new Honda this year. He's changed away from the Yamaha team. At Wonthaggi, I didn't notice his results. Cade was somewhat up there. But Ryder led the opening moto down in A.C.T. But right at the end, faded back, and Dylan Walsh got him. So it was good signs for Dylan Walsh because I don't think he's ever ridden at Canberra before, and obviously still learning the Australian tracks and getting used to the KTM in Australia 250 to be running it there. So that was pretty good from Dylan. But yeah, just a little bit interesting about Ryder's performance there, because then in Moto 2 was only sort of like that third, fourth point of view. So good, but not as good as I thought he would be just yet. And maybe that's still him acclimatizing to the Honda. And I thought maybe I'm expecting too much out of him, but I thought Cade would be faster. I know he's up against guys that are in MX2 and MX1 already, and he's young. But his performances in MX3 and SX3 last year were pretty impressive, right, Benny? Like, I don't know. I just felt like I should see more from him. Maybe he's saving it for the actual national rounds.
Yeah, maybe he's saving it. But I think this, sort of same as AFL, NRL, anyone, you get that, they're just sort of preseason, games or races that don't really mean a lot. They're sort of like a learning thing. So maybe he's just still got a bit to learn the bike a bit more. And again, just get that match fitness up. But with, I'm sure come round one, I'm sure both of them will probably, be where our expectations are.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the other one that a couple of things I wanted to point out. One, do you know Todd Waters is old enough to run vet classes now? Because he was in the 30 plus vet classes on the weekend and running MX1 AB. So that was interesting.
I did see that in our group chat, and I did see some results from that class. So, yes, it's interesting.
Well, look, I'm sure there's a few people in the vet class a bit disappointed in the fact that he was entered in the vet class. But anyway, he's allowed to. He's old enough. Like I said, Dylan Walsh was there learning the track and stuff. So I think that was a good chance for him to get some exposure to one of the national tracks and learn a bit advanced time. But the other one I want to bring up that was pretty cool, Reese Budd. He's there on his new Honda, that Moto Coaching Elite racing team. Heard some things about his bike and that he's still got some parts coming for a race bike that aren't a part of his practice bike. But he looked pretty damn good on his practice bike on the weekend. He, in that second MX1 Moto, he came through the pack with Jed Beaton, who'd crashed in the first corner. Reese didn't crash in the first corner, but was obviously getting average starts on 250 against 450s. But the two of them sort of came through the field together and then got to the front and went 1-2. And Reese basically didn't drop off more than a second or two from Jed the whole time. So that was cool. But then what I saw in the next, because the next moto, or two motos later, whatever it was, the MX2 AB came out. Obviously Beaton not a part of that one, but Reese was. I saw that confidence come back to Reese when he got when that gate dropped, because he whole shot it. And I don't think I've seen him do that for quite some time. We've been obviously watching these events for a little while now over the last few seasons. And just this confidence, all of a sudden, I feel like it just popped straight up. And he led the motor from start to finish, and he went away from the field. That included, like I said, Dylan Walsh, Cade Kingsford, Ryder Kingsford, Kobe Hantis, Reed Taylor. So, they had a really good thing there, and he got the overall in that MX2 in the end with the 3-1 moto scores in that class. So, yeah, look, I just felt like Reese is coming into something here that could be really special for this year's Oz Pro season with a bit of a privateer startup team. It could be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, and it's good because if you think back to Oz Pro MX last year, he was riding the Empire Kawasaki around without a rear mudguard and no visor after crashing it pretty big, which he was disgusted that I'd taken a photo of him like that. But yes, since that Wollongong Supercross crash that in that first heat race, that was absolutely horrible. It hasn't been very good at all for him. No. So to see some results like this, new bike, new team. And to be riding like that, I think is really, really good. And hopefully come, Oz Pro MX, that confidence carries over and he actually gets some good results and has some good races. Yeah,
definitely. Now I'm just trying to add our man to the conversation here. Let me get him in here. What are we doing? Admit. All right, let's get this all sorted out here. We're going to have a couple of screen issues for us just a second. All right, Corey, how you doing, mate?
Good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, not bad. Let me just adjust a couple of things here. I need to just flip myself out of the way here. Minimize. Why won't it go away? Yep, good. For some reason, you are on the other direction, so maybe turn your phone the other way. Yours wants to be a bit different tonight. Everyone seems to be on a different direction. There we go. All right, for everyone. How's things, Corey?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Not too bad. So just for everyone out there watching and listening, we've got the number 23 from the MX3, SX3 the last year and going to be this year again, correct? If you can nod, yep. It's Corey Eisel on the phone. How are we doing? So, mate, you've been over doing some New Zealand rounds recently as well, trying to change things up. How's that? What were you doing over in the Kiwi land?
Oh, yeah, well, we got... the Davies were over there. We're pretty close with them, and their parents live over there, and they offered us to come over there and stay there and ride over there. So, yeah, me and Dad just thought, why not just give it a go? Always good to give new things a go. So we decided to head over, borrowed a bike off the King family, if you know who they are, Curtis and Ryan King.
Yeah.
Got bikes off them, and... yeah, just decided to do the last 2 rounds of nationals over there.
Yeah, nice. So, obviously, have you ridden overseas before, or was this the first time doing anything outside of Australia on a motorcycle?
Oh, my first thing ever doing anything overseas from Australia.
Yeah, nice. So how was that trying to learn? One, obviously you had to get the bike and probably didn't have all the things that you'd used to in terms of maybe bars, grips and suspension and stuff, or did you take a lot of this? And then, how did it go in terms of learning a new track that you'd never seen before?
Oh yeah, well, didn't really have anything. We didn't bring anything over there from my bike, so pretty much just jumped on their bike. They were pretty much the same weight as me, so yeah, suspension was pretty much the same. Yeah, and that's about it. Getting used to the track was really difficult. Never really have any of this type of stuff in Australia with up and down hills, and it was just really technical to get used to.
Was the surface a bit different as well? Like I gathered they're a bit softer surfaces over there in the New Zealand side of things and a bit more rut developing, maybe loamier.
Yeah, well, they're like really hard packed down bottom, but up top they're really soft. So like, you just got to be really careful on the throttle because you think you could just whack the throttle on, but then you'll just slide out. Like it's really slippery underneath.
So was it worth doing as like a whole experience? Like I think I saw one of your posts after the first round. The results weren't fantastic, let's say, but like as a learning experience for you, was it worth doing it?
Yes, definitely. Well, I was in the MX2 class, and yeah, that was pretty difficult to ride in. Big names riders in there, yeah.
Do they have we obviously have the MX3 and stuff. Did they have something similar to that, or you just chose to do MX2, or what was the go?
Yeah, they do have an MX3, but their MX3 is not really anything big. It's more like a C grade, if anything.
Yeah.
So it's like
Bit more restricted and reduced on that side of things. Yeah, fair enough. No, so I think it's great that you've gone and done this sort of thing early on because it gives you a different, exposure and understanding of what needs to be done. Because if you just ride all the same tracks that you used to at home, it sort of narrows up the development, right? But you've gone and experienced something that, not many people have, and you'll be better for it, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely good to go and try out new different tracks, new different things, and versing different people.
Yeah, nice. Benny, you got something there about maybe the change this year for him?
Yeah, just quickly before that, it was just saying racing new people that you haven't sort of raced against. Do you get comfortable, obviously, with your class over here? You know who you're racing and whatnot. Is it hard to gauge how the different class over there are going to race, or is it pretty quick to sort of work out how they're going to race as well?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I'm never really used to riding with all those older type of guys. They're like 25, 30-year-olds. I'm normally in the under 18s class. So, yeah, they're a lot more rougher when it comes to racing. Like, that first corner is like, you have to get a good start or you're going down, pretty much. And, like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the switch, obviously you're on KTM last year. What's the switch to the Honda been like, and what at this point what's better for you on the Honda than KTM?
Oh, well, what I like a lot better on the CRF than the KTM is it definitely handles a lot better. Like with turning, like it's definitely a lot easier to like turn and hit corners, but it's just the power from them down low, like not the best power.
On the KTM?
Nah, on the Honda, there's not the best power.
Oh.
But it's more like it's even. With the KTM, it's like really bottom.
Yep.
And then it like drops off at the top. But with the Honda, I feel like it's just power all the way through, but not that much down low.
Yeah, interesting. Something maybe you got some plans here for motor work or something, or some tweaks along the way, or are you just going to run it as it is for the time being?
Yeah, well, I got my practice bike. It's only got an ignition and a pipe on it, so it's definitely been a lot better since I got all that done to it. But the race bike's getting built now. I got to pick it up next week and test it out. It's just got a bit of head work, ignition, pipe, and just a few other things that will hopefully get it better.
Yeah, look, obviously that bottom end is something you might need a bit more of when it comes Supercross time. If the power's nice and even across the board, it'll probably be pretty good for outdoors. But yeah, when you come around to later in the year, might need a different setup by that point.
Yeah, definitely.
No,
and
nice.
It's also better to have bottom end on the start just to get off that line, you know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously, power anytime, anywhere is good, but if you can only have it in certain spots at some point, well, yeah, you're going to need it in the Supercross side of things, that's for sure. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll see how that works out for you. But What for this year? Obviously, you're talking about picking up the race bike. What are your plans? You doing the Oz Pro, I gather, as well. I was asking you today about, obviously you missed out on the opening round of the motocross titles for New South Wales, but you mentioned you're probably going to be at round 2 for that. So what's on the schedule for you, mate?
Well, with my team, we're based up in Queensland, so they want me to do all rounds of the Sunshine State titles, which is Queensland State titles, and all the Pro Max rounds and Supercross rounds.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing all of the Queensland title rounds and all the Pro Maxes. And he said, whatever else you want to try out, you can do. So I'm going to try and do pretty much all the rest of the New South Wales rounds.
So where are you based again? You're in New South Wales, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm Sydney, like the Hawkesbury area.
Yep. That's right. Yep. I thought I knew that, but I just thought I'd double check that before I made a fool of myself and said something completely wrong. So yeah. But yeah, so yeah, if you're gonna be doing a bit of travel then this year, if you're gonna get up to those Queensland rounds and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we leave our caravan up at Queensland.
Okay.
And we either fly up or just drive the car with no trailer on the back. It's definitely a lot easier to do that and just go over the caravan and hook it up to the back of the car and stay somewhere.
Yeah, nice. So have you got like your family goes with you as such for these things, or just you and your dad, or what's your travel movements like?
Oh, it's mainly me and my dad, but every now and then, like my mum and I got 2 twin sisters will come along with us, and yeah, but it's mainly me and my dad travel around all different tracks.
Yeah, the usual sort of arrangement there. So yeah. Benny, I'm curious about the working side of things. You know, how do you fit all this? How's he fit all this stuff in? You got anything there for us?
Yeah, what's the so obviously you're in Sydney and the team's up there. What's the training schedule / work schedule like? You know, if you're in Sydney, the team's up there. How's that work out? And then obviously with work, how do you fit it all in?
Oh well, with training, it's if I'm up at Queensland, I'll train up at Queensland for the week. Mainly, if we're going up to Queensland, we got a round of racing in Queensland, so we go up the week before and just train up there while we're up there, test out new things, get the mechanic out, help us with anything we need, suspension guy, and then we come back down. We do what we need to do at home. Me and my dad work at home and we do painting and stuff, and paint trailers and fix trailers and stuff. So we do that at home, and riding around 2-3 times a week if I'm down at home. If I'm up at Queensland, training at least 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, nice. So I gather then is that your dad's business or something that he just able to manage your work times around of it pretty easily, like flexibly?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, nice. There we go. I was wondering how he's fitting all this stuff in, because like, how do you go? You've been in New Zealand for a couple of weeks, wasn't it? So like, you just can't disappear from a job for long.
That annual leave will be running out real quick.
Oh, definitely. So what is the team name for you this year, mate? Like, I didn't introduce you with that because I wasn't sure what it was. So what's the actual support for you this time around?
Moto 1. So I'm wearing the shirt now. Moto 1 Motorcycles. They're based at Maroochydore, Queensland.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're Honda and KTM dealership. Yeah, he's had a team, not last year before. Had a couple riders on that, and yeah, got a truck and all that.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Yep. Cool. So that'll be a good little setup for you guys then. So when you get to these state title rounds, you're just going to be rocking it in the back of the ute or something, because the truck won't come down, I gather. So
yeah, well, if I'm riding down New South Wales, with the state titles down here, I don't think he'll end up coming down there unless anything. If he does want to come with the rest of the team, but just if it's just me, I'll be there with my dad, my family, with the trailer. Just probably the box trailer, rock up.
Benny, you look like you wanted to say something, mate.
Yeah. So do you decide the gear, or like the gear that you wear, or does the team decide? Like, have you got a gear sponsor?
Yes, we're supported by Fox this year. So our
Fox
boots, Fox gear, and Fox helmet, and we run 100% goggles.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Yep. I don't know if you can tell, but that is your jersey up in the corner there. It's just sort of hidden behind the logo there. It's parked up there next to Riley's one. So, yeah, and that was the Fox one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to see. There's no logo on the back that I can see, but yeah. No, it's good. So yeah, look, you sound like you've got a big year ahead, mate. Like there's plenty of racing in that schedule, and not much time for work.
Yeah, definitely.
Your dad must be stoked on that aspect.
Yeah.
Benny, I wish I could take that much time off work and have no worries about it at all.
It would be nice, but the the bill's got to get paid and the podcast's got to get done.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. Well, look, Corey, it's been awesome to have you on, mate. If you can weasel the truck down or something, you just have to tell your team manager that it's on live streamed on YouTube nowadays, and you'll get coverage, and you can come in and sit in with the commentary box and all that sort of stuff. It might make him actually come down and give you all the support you need.
Yeah. I'll let him know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, mate, thanks for coming on and joining us here tonight. It's good to check in with you before the rounds really kick off here, find out a little bit about what happened there in New Zealand. Yeah, look, we might check in with you again throughout the season, and good luck for 2026, mate.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, mate. We'll catch you next time.
Have a good one.
See you, mate.
Yeah.
All right, Benny, we're back. Good little chat with Corey.
Yeah, it is good. It's always good to get a little insight and before the season starts and how people are tracking along with new teams, new bikes, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, look, obviously, lots of things change. It's nice to see, you can sort of find out some of this information beforehand. Obviously, he's got that new Honda ride there and with the team and stuff. I gather that's probably part of the reason that he did it. So, yeah, look, I obviously met him last year with Supercross and took some shots of him. But yeah, just nice to get some of these younger kids in, and they're obviously out there ripping it up. So, yeah, catch up with them. Now, let's move along in our program schedule, normal actions here. Let's go to another short, sharp emergency department. Let's see if I can get the intro done this time. Oh,
The emergency department. All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on.
You don't want to be on this list, Benny, any time in a racing year, and even worse if you've done it in like off season or something, because usually it means you're going to miss the whole next season. So, but the last two rounds have been actually a little bit on the quieter side, which is nice. There hasn't been as many people, or at least not that I've found out, being added to it just yet. But I did find out one today that was from a couple of weeks back, which was Max Miller. Actually broke his wrist and his tibia in a crash a couple of weeks ago, which isn't great, but he's out and he's already had surgery on that. So Max Miller from that international supercross race team that's run by Bubba Pauly, who we've had on the show before, who was a man that now is, missing the stub of his thumb. I'm trying not to make a joke about it, but just trying to remind people of the story that he had when he was telling us on the show about 2 or so years back now. So, yeah, but Max having that injury, not good. But I thought I'd touch on it. You shared this one into the group chat the other day. Evan Ferry and his little heart condition that he had, mate. It's a very interesting scenario that he is gone through in recent times. And I had some notes on this and I just got lost where they've gone. But anyway, where did it disappear to? We'll have to find that. I think I know what's happened here. But yeah, it's called Evan Ferry.
POTS syndrome?
It was May-Thurner syndrome. And it's weird, right? Like, did you read up about it at all?
I read what he posted. I didn't so much Google it, but I read what he posted, on the socials.
Yeah, look, it's an odd situation. Like, one, for obviously, this happens from time to time. You get those congenital defects that you're just born with something just a little bit off, right? And for obviously him, he had issues as a kid that was diagnosed incorrectly, where they thought that he had just low blood pressure, and that's why he always would get fatigued and maybe not able to finish off a long moto or something like that when he was doing, different levels of training. But turns out when he had his Achilles injury that they figured out something else. Obviously, while he was probably getting monitored with the surgery while he was under, he probably had an ECG lead on, which more than likely was the case. Maybe somebody picked up an irregularity at that point and suggested that he get further testing done. And yeah, it turns out he's got this May-Thurner syndrome, which is basically where he has poor return circulation. So the blood goes out, but it just doesn't come back in the right manner, if at all, which is interesting because you'd think that he'd end up having some sort of swelling or something in the extremities because it's not returning well. But a couple of bit of surgery, put some stents in, things are corrected. So it's amazing what they can do these days, right?
Yeah, and I think it's good too. Like, he doesn't have to put that on socials. He doesn't have to tell anyone. But I think he's copped a fair bit of shit over the last few years, to, sort of say like, you haven't made it, you've done one round, you crashed, blah, 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 whatever. So I think it's good for him to post it and let everyone know actually what's actually been going on, and not hiding it. But yeah, the surgical world is definitely improving, and for him, his quality of life now has improved because of that. So hopefully the results and now some time on the bike and actually racing, there's a bit of a turnaround.
Yeah, no, 100%. All that. I love the fact that he came out and did it. And I remember when he did that post, maybe that was partway through last year or something when he did it. The comment that Tim Ferry, his dad, did on it was something along the lines of like, I'm glad you actually put this out there to let the world know and, to let them in on the secret we've been keeping for, obviously since he was 12, which is probably, what's that, nearly 8-10 years, however old he is now. So yeah, obviously these guys live with these things and try to hide it to some degree because they don't want it to be an excuse, but it is really a legitimate issue that he is trying to work through as a professional athlete that can severely impact how he performs. So ideally now it's a case of just, training and continuing to build something that he wasn't able to do previously, and things will just continue to get better on a physical fitness side of things for him. So just have to watch this space and see if all of a sudden maybe in a year or so he's actually performing at a point where he's in the mix, in a 250 class. So we'll see.
Yeah, and hopefully he does. Like you said, he didn't have to post it. I think it's good that he did. And it's not, like a broken arm coming back from that, or, something that's
it's not that simple, right?
Yeah, it's not a simple thing. So, yeah, I think good on him. And, I'd be glad to see how he goes in the next, couple of years.
Definitely. Now, another thing to note that I wanted to just chat into, we've talked a little bit about Jet Lawrence's injury and what the timeframes for recovery and what I thought he'd be able to do. Now, I think it was maybe 2 shows ago I said that I expected him to be back, 3 or 4 Supercrosses to go was my sort of expectations. Now, sources I've got are telling me things, Benny. Now, we had troubles when I was trying to reveal sources last week on the show. So, I don't know. We can try again if you want, but I've got a source that told me that he won't be back for Supercross. Now, not that he won't be ready, but just that he doesn't need to be back. Yep. So, which makes complete sense, right? Like, he doesn't need to come back from a point, like, it's not like he's short on money. It's not like he's short on, he's not able to win the championship. He's potentially, he could win a race or 2 or 3, but he potentially might not either. So what's the big drama? And from a team point of view, they've got a rider out there that's performing at the top of the game as it is in Hunter Lawrence. So he's not needed, but he can make a very big step in terms of his bike setup, his fitness, and his readiness for the outdoors by not. So yeah, there we have it. Sources are telling me that that's what's going to go on. So he could race them, but he's not going to. And they expect him back on the bike somewhere 2 to 4 weeks from now, which is pretty much exactly where I was saying that would happen. And it's just a case of how quickly it occurs. They're basically checking into it right now as to whether he can be cleared or not within the next very little while. So, as I said, expect to see him a bike day one back on the bike pick very, very soon.
Tomato sauce, barbecue sauce? What sort of sauce?
Tomato sauce, barbecue sauce? What are we talking about?
Who's the sauce?
Oh, the sauce. Oh, yeah. Look, I can tell you again, but I'm sure something will happen. But, if we want to reveal the sauce, we can.
It's all right. We'll just stick to we'll stick to it. I can't let the fans down again.
Oh, look, we can try. But
all the group chat, for that matter, they're very disappointed that it didn't come through. So if we don't, can't disappoint them.
Look, I guess if somebody donated in the thing, maybe we could try and reveal the source again, but, we'll see. I think our group chat's gone dead quiet for the time being. Anyway, so then next thing to talk about, potential outs for the next round at Indianapolis. This has got to be a TBA because Drew Adams had that really good ride going in Daytona, but that crash, and they reporting that there's a broken thumb, but that there's further scans and stuff that are going to go on just to check. I dare say when the adrenaline wears off and they check into it a little bit, sensible heads will prevail and they'll get that thumb fixed, or at least have it, splintered and out for a couple of weeks, and then get him to return back to the end of the Supercross part and or just straight into outdoors. But let's see. He may be on the line in Indy. He may not be. It'll be confirmed in Team PR basically on Friday or Saturday morning, our time, Australian time. So we won't know till very much later in the week. But, yeah, a bit of a bummer that ride that he had going, Benny, was pretty sensational. And it ended, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, I was watching him closely. My fantasy team was looking really good. And then just disappeared right down to the bottom of the totem, which was not ideal. But I wonder how the two people that race Supercross without a thumb react if he doesn't race with a broken
And that's
with a broken thumb.
very different scenario. Very different scenario. But yeah, I get your point. Yeah, I can see that you're pointing something at them, and it's not a finger.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then obviously we talked about the Eli Tomac tooth bit. He's going to be in this weekend, no doubt about it. Whether he's got something bunged in there is like a. Do you remember the Dennis the Menace when he had the teeth put up in there in the old show? Maybe he's going to do something like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe he comes out with a butt patch or something that says like Tooth Mac or something.
If he came out with like the Tooth Fairy on it, that'd be solid, right? And then the other thing we should talk about, it's not really a injury. It was reported initially by the team as a medical issue, but there's been more information that have come out on it. I'm talking about Jason Anderson and the HEP Suzuki team. Obviously, we've all found out there's a little bit of an issue with an arrest that's gone on at the end of last year, potentially right about that time when he would have got back from World Supercross. And maybe there's some issues there which you can all do some Google searching on your own self. It's in our group chat. There is a police report that is doing the rounds that explains what was happening there. But yes, he was arrested. Yes, he may have medical health, like his own health issues as well. I don't know what those are exactly. I dare say part of that would be mental health to go along with the situation that's going on. But he is stepping away indefinitely. Now, other sources that I've got tell me that he potentially will not be back for Supercross or the rest of the season. And there is a chance that depending on how this all plays out, that he may not be back at all. So it's not a great situation. We'll have to obviously see what happens with that later on. But it's just a weird way for this season to go. But Benny, I don't know if you remember, it ties in a little bit with the last time. I think this was partway through last year. He had a medical or a family issue that he had to return home for and missed a round or two. I can't remember exactly how many. I wonder if something had already started back then for this, or if this is just a separate incident and we're reading too much into it. But just sort of seems all to be linking up, right?
Yeah, it sort of does, but it's also like the amount of rubbish claims, obviously, that I've seen in the past, 24, 48 hours compared to what the actual statements say is also ridiculous. And that's just people trying to get clicks on social media, obviously. But, to go from World Supercross champ to not doing too bad in this Supercross and now maybe not coming back at all, it's definitely taken a turn.
Well, I mentioned that, like, as in our group chat that we've got on the AlwaysMoto Insta page, that he is the World Supercross current champ, right? So, like, that would be a reason for him to be back with the team later in the year potentially. But if there is a charge or something that ends up being placed or followed through or he's just even deemed as having issues with like code of conduct for the sport. I don't know how World Supercross is going to go when they're going to want to promote their previous year's champ, but he potentially has an arrest, a charge, whatever, to his name. Do they then throw that up, or do they then sweep that under the rug and then potentially promote Joey as the face of the series for the guy that got second last year? You know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting problem that now presents itself for World Supercross when it comes time.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Things might be all right then, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I think you better check the chat, Dave.
I just saw that, and I'm going to shout out Ryan Galea. Mate, appreciate the donation. That is fantastic, bro. If you got any questions, feel free to jump through. But he did also put in there about what a waste of talent for Ando. It is a bummer. Like, he did have such an interesting career to a point, and then he sort of is just that second year, third year of Cowie, whatever that last year of his deal was for Cowie. It's just gone over the top of the roller coaster and gone down the downslope, hasn't it? So, just not great.
Do we think is it last week he was, I think for a lap or two, was trying to kick that bike over after right next to the whoop section?
Do you think that started a medical condition?
Do you reckon that topped it off maybe? Maybe it topped it off. He's like, I'm sick of kicking this bike.
No, I actually think, and like looking at him from the whole time that we saw him from our like Gold Coast and even before that, as soon as he got on that Suzuki, I felt that he actually looked really good on it, and I thought he was going to potentially return to that winning form at some point. And I felt like he was getting there early in the season, and then it sort of leveled out again. And obviously, there's these other extenuating circumstances that are probably playing a factor. Yeah, probably kicking the bike like that probably drove him nuts, but I don't think it had anything to do with where we are now, right? So unlike the scenario with Chase Sexton, where when we hear a thing that says he's just banged up with a sore back and a sore hip, I put in there in our group chat, is that code for I just don't like my bike much this week, and I don't like how it's potentially going to perform at Daytona, so I don't want to look bad or worse than I already am? Or is it a legit, I had a crash and I'm banged up and I don't want to race because I'm going to underperform from that aspect? It's disappointing that that's the way sometimes we talk about this, but the history of what's gone on, you sort of spiral off at times and think, well, that is a potential, reason for this to be the way it is, right?
Yeah, and I could understand if he had medical reasons and that there would be mental health problems. That wouldn't surprise me with him because there's, it's not been good. It's not good. When he got that race win earlier in the year, I thought, yep, we've turned a stone somewhere, and he was going to keep that momentum up, and it's just not gone anywhere.
Yeah, look, I've talked about Chase's racecraft at times and his decisions he's made and the pressure that he's been under when he's trying to make passes or doesn't even get to make a pass with Jet Lawrence, about it being mental. You have to, if you correlate the fact that he's gone to a bike that got, bagged out by Jorge Prado the year before, but the bike that he left at KTM, he was bagging out. And now that bike is 1 point away from the championship lead and has 4 wins in the season. And he only has 1 amongst 1 podium, which was that win. Mentally, that's got to mess with you, right?
Well, I think I think you expect that from Tomac. I think I would look at the Prado situation, and yes, he's not racing, but the difference it made for Prado to get on that bike and do a lot better on. I think if I was Chase, I'd be looking at that. I think Tomac can get on any bike and do what he's doing. I don't think it does, but I think you look at the Prado situation more than Tomac.
But is that can Tomac do that because he actually is more methodical with his testing, and he will stick to something for long enough to understand where it's good and bad and then make a calculated change? Whereas Sexton seems to be like a literally like, throw me the kitchen sink, I'll try it for 10 seconds, then throw me a different kitchen sink. Like, you can't get progress when you make that many changes. You would no way in the world remember the feeling that you had with whatever combination of parts you had on it by the time you got to the end of the week that he seems to have. So, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if you go back to Gold Coast, that chat with Ian Harrison, and he said that, obviously they did the Canadian World Supercross and they did our one. That was two different types of soil. Then they were going home to test somewhere else, and then they had all their bases covered with everywhere he'd ridden.
Yeah.
He probably didn't stray that far away from the setup they had, whereas if that was Chase, all four different areas would have been completely different setups.
Yeah, that's the vibe you get from what's been said around the traps about him. So yeah, you're spot on. That's what that he would have had that, and they would have been just running around going, "Oh, we don't know what to give you this week," So yeah, I do think that that's the case. Now I'm going to just jump back to the chat because Ryan has actually popped in. Ryan Galea, who gave us that $10 donation. Thank you, Ryan. Put in another thing there about how does one believe anything that Anderson says at this point? It's been such an odd couple of years for him, and in most interviews, it's next to impossible to see any enthusiasm in him about racing. I can see why Ryan said that. Like, he does seem very much mellow or withdrawn when he's being spoken to for interviews. But I will say that when I got to interview him, and it was a few more years back than this, but like when he returned at Redbud when I was there in 2023 and I got an interview with him and I asked him about his situation and everything, there was a vibe that I got from him, and you can go back and find that interview. It'll be in our podcast history archives further back. It'd be down near 100 or maybe lower than that in the episode number. But he did have good answers, and he talked about his training and stuff like that because I asked different questions. Now, obviously, he's probably getting used to being asked the same thing over and over again, so he probably does lose interest in that side. But when I asked him something different, at that time at least, he did spark up and give me a look in the eyes. They're like, oh, that's a good question, and talk about it, right? So maybe that's part of it. Maybe the media's partly to blame in that there's 5 to 10 guys that are asking the same boring shit. Maybe it is that he just got to a point where he potentially lost some of the passion or some of the drive. Maybe his focus was elsewhere, Benny. Like, he's obviously got some things going on in his personal life.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot going on. When he first switched to Cowie and he was sort of winning those few races or podiums and all that, there was a fair few press day videos and interviews of him, and he was engaged, he was into it. As the year went on, that next year, obviously they all sort of died out because he wasn't doing as well. Maybe he was just like, what now? Because I'm not doing that well, no one wants to talk to me anymore. So I just don't, I don't put as much effort into it or what. And then obviously maybe the switch to Suzuki might have got him fired up a little bit. And then out of the personal stuff started to happen and it sort of again died off. Who knows?
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I think if you look back on the time, obviously he lent into that Team Fried thing from the get-go and sort of gave off that vibe that he didn't train and he didn't care, and maybe he lent too far into that. I don't know. I think we'll know a lot more in about 6 months' time if he doesn't come back to Supercross, and his team probably already not worried about him, and he probably wasn't that interested in, because I think he signed for SX only, if I remember correctly, so outdoors was already not in the cards for him. But when that World Supercross season, because they haven't obviously announced any race dates or venues yet, and then they would announce those and probably use his image as the defending champ. If his image isn't the one there, and he's not a part of any team announcements for those dates, I think we'll start to know a lot more, and then he'd probably be at a point where you might get some follow-up interviews and stuff with him about the scenario, because we'd be far enough along that charges would have been or not been completed. So I think at this point we can all speculate as much as we want. Hopefully everything is going well for him as best it can be, given whatever he's gone through or done. Hopefully he hasn't done anything wrong, but sounds like he might have done a couple of things from that report that we talked about earlier. But yeah, we're going to have to just wait and see what actually comes out in the wash, right?
Yeah. Do you think anyone now gets that bike? Do you think they put someone on his bike?
Did you see on X, and I can refer to it as X, we had this discussion last week, right? On X, the Kyle Chisholm post, did you see that one?
No.
He said, if I had $1 for the amount of people that have asked me if I'm going to return to the HEP Suzuki team, he'd be a rich man. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Everybody's just going, oh, I guess that means Chiz is coming back. No, he's not coming back. He's actually test riding for Cowie, trying to help Chase out and Marchbanks out with settings on the East Coast. So, yeah, I honestly think that bike gets parked. I don't think we see it for the rest of the season.
And yeah, it's probably a good thing too that, I wonder if any of that had shown, obviously it's been out since December and everyone's only found out about it now. I wonder if there was like talk about it within the team and it may have been interrupting Kenny and even just a little bit or Colt or anyone. I wonder if there was, any of that there, or whether it was definitely kept quiet until now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you would think the team would know the rules about, because there was a post where somebody had screenshot like code of conduct from SMX, and that if you have that domestic violence or conviction, or you're under an arrest period waiting for the hearing, that you're not allowed to compete, I think it was. So if the team knew, then they were in breach of that too, so then they'd be in trouble. So I would hope that they didn't know until everybody else knew, basically at some point early last week before that announcement was made. So, we can't really speculate on that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Interestingly, the group chat's mentioning a couple of things in. I think some of it is a little bit off here, but too many rules, no motivation left. That's possible. That was from Roost Thrower. But Ryan's jumped back in and said he signed the deal knowing that he had those police charges. Pretty bad move, or pretty bad business move. He signed that Suzuki deal probably around that point or just before that first Kawasaki missed from family reasons was done. So and obviously that one was dated, was it the 15th of the 12th, 2025? I think that police report was dated. So that's well and truly after that Suzuki signature has been put down. But whether that first one had anything around it, which would have been back in April of 2025, I don't know. But that was about April, May would have been when he signed that Suzuki deal. So I don't think you're quite spot on, Ryan. Sorry to bust your bubble on that one, but I think you might have your dates a little bit skewed there. But yeah, check the police report. And Ryan, if you want, send us a message on Instagram, AlwaysMoto, and we can jump into the AlwaysMoto group chat, and you can check out the police report if you haven't seen it before. It's in our group chat. So, all right, I think that's enough Jason Anderson talk, because we've just covered way more than I thought we were going to.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to blow out that far.
We dove deep. We really went deep there. But there's a lot to it, right? Like, actually, one more thing. The code of conduct bit and stuff. Obviously, in the Supercross, and I brought this up in the group chat. I keep referencing the group chat tonight, but we've had a bit going on in there since the weekend. NRL or NFL would have these things happen. I don't want to say all the time, but pretty regularly, right? Those guys in the football world tend to be a little bit looser with their values, let's say, and tend to get arrested a bit more often. So they obviously stand these people down immediately. First whisper they get of somebody getting arrested, they're stood down, can't play until the court hearing is done and they're either charged or cleared. And then if they're cleared, they're free to come back in. But they've missed that time, no going back, right? for us in Moto, we obviously don't have that very often. The closest thing we've had recently was obviously Deegan getting arrested for doing doughies in the car park. That's a misdemeanor, not breaking the code of conduct. If we go back further, you go back to James Stewart getting arrested for impersonating a police officer by having some lights and sirens on his car when he was driving down the highway one day trying to pretend to pull people over. That was dumb. But we haven't really had anything like this that I can think of in moto. So this is a bit of a test of our system here as to what the sport would do as well, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I replied to that comment with an NRL player and an AFL player have both just lost 18 months of their career because of sexual assault claims that came out to be that both times the person accusing them had lied. And they've just lost, 18 months of their career. They've copped a heap of backlash and dirt thrown on their name, money, deals, probably everything that they would have made in that, and had to sit through and be quiet and not be able to say anything about it, only for them to, at the end of it be cleared, and now they can come back and everyone's, no one's going to apologise for it. No one's going to, nothing happens, but they've lost it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah,
you wonder if we've already had enough rule book issues in recent time with Supercross, changing lead-in lights and red flags and whatnot. So, this is a bit more serious in the rule book sense, and obviously not to do directly with the race outcomes, but as part of the presentation of the sport. You want to be a professional sport, you got to implement these sorts of things. So, interested to see what they do if they have to step in at some point about it, or whether it'll sort itself out because he just doesn't come back. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. All right, that's the emergency department updates at this point in the week. We'll try this week to get our updates out on our video. Last week I had absolutely no time. We drove to Canberra on Friday to do the track preview for the state title commentating, and I was up against it all week trying to get everything done, so it just didn't happen. So sometimes you go with one thing and not the other. I do have a day job, people. I do stretch myself a little thin at times. My voice is starting to go, if you haven't noticed it. It's getting worse, Benny.
So I know that you did the preview lap for the Enduro track last year. Whose idea was it? The same thing, like they asked you to do it, or did you put the idea forward? Or?
We've always had a track preview done at the races, but in past years it was just some, like, I don't want to say random and make it sound like they were nobody, but like just literally somebody who was available from the club at the venue on that day to then go out and do it. I wanted to try and make it into a bit more of a potentially advertisement point, and we're going to try and bring the Yamaha out to it next time. I took the RM because I've only just got the WR250 from Yamaha Motor Australia, and I wasn't comfortable on it just yet, and we literally had to run it in still because it didn't have many hours on it at all. None, basically. So, we took the RM125 out, thought it'd be a bit of fun, but it was probably, in hindsight, it was a dumb idea. It was a talking point for Russ and I across the weekend, because every time we talk about somebody not being able to make a jump, he'd just look at me and reference me and say, well, you couldn't make it on the RM125. I'm like, yeah, but I had a freshly ripped track and a 125 from 25 years ago, different scenario. But the idea is essentially mine to try and make it a bit more commercialized, and we're going to try and get some brands involved. I've got a few things reached out. I've got to follow up on them after this weekend to see if they've seen it and, make it a bit more interesting. But Russ and I have got some crazy ideas to take this coverage to a bit more professional level. We massively improved what we did this weekend compared to last year's efforts, just because we had some different equipment and slightly different crew doing it. Looking forward to it, man. It's going to be good.
What I'm just throwing these questions at you quickly.
Go for it.
What are your thoughts on that? Is that the first time you've been to the Canberra track?
No, I've raced there before.
Okay.
So I actually, I've only raced there once, but 2012, I did an East Coast down there, did a couple of classes and stuff, and it was actually different direction when I was there, but essentially same layout, just different direction. But yeah, I like it. It's tight. I don't necessarily think it's a national track, but it's a bit too tight for my liking and a bit too jumpy for my liking. There's just that bottom section where they've got the 3 consecutive big, like it's a tabletop step up a tabletop.
Yeah.
It's not really national for me, that side of things. It's, not the right sort of layout there.
Yeah, I think it for Pro-Max last year, obviously I went there for the media. There was a lot of people there. It was a good turnout. So hopefully they get another good turnout, even with the rain and thunder and lightning that probably from lunchtime onwards, the people were still hanging around watching. So I think it's a good track. There's a lot of, you can sort of see, you can't obviously go down the back and watch. You can pretty much only watch from sort of the front of the track, start, finish area. But I think it's a pretty good track to watch from. And yeah.
Vantage point, because of that way that's in sort of like that bowl and you've got like that top wall around the top. Yeah, you can see plenty. So from a viewing point of view, it's a good one to go to. I don't know if you noticed, but when you were there, but like the hotels and the airport are literally like 5 or 10 minutes away from the track. So like to access it, if you're interstate, it's actually an easy one to get to and be a part of. Like the hotels and the airport, like I said, not very far away from the track at all, and like super easy. So yeah, if you wanted to come in and watch it, you could fly in from Brizzy or something and do it in the day if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I think my hotel was only 5 minutes down the road, so it made life easy.
Yeah. So super easy on that side of things, which is cool. So yeah, but yeah, what else you got, Benny? You're throwing questions, mate, left, right, and centre. Let's go.
I think that's it. Actually, no, there was two more.
Go on, come on.
I saw somewhere on the socials that you broke a camera or a stick or something trying to film that. And we need some explanation on that.
All right. First off, apologies to Skywalker Studios. It wasn't my intention. It wasn't my idea either. But we tried to do the whole. Do you remember in Supercross, for the Australian Supercross, they had Dino doing the sight laps with the Insta 360? Well, they had for Dino like a waist belt with a pole hook on the back of it to wear. These guys didn't have that. They just had this pole with a clamp. Well, in hindsight, putting it on the swing arm, not a good idea. I didn't think about it at the time when he's like, oh, we'll mount it here. I'm like, oh, yeah, that'll work, I didn't think about the fact that the swing arm would go like crazy up and down. Well, literally, I went down the start straight, turned right, went down the straight, turned left onto the straight, hit the first roller, and the thing just disappeared apparently. I didn't notice until I got back. I did one lap and then got back in, pulled up so we could adjust the gear and check that it was all working. And I took my leg off the bike and looked back and went, where's the camera? And there he is picking it up in like literally the first 100 meters or something that I'd ridden. And yeah, it had come off the swing arm and then dropped into the rear wheel and just snapped the selfie pole. I didn't even feel a thing. So I was probably lucky that I didn't eat shit at that point. But yeah, broke that. So then we went with plan B, which was mounting it on the handlebars instead. So
yeah, I think that turned out a lot better than the other one.
Well, the other view was going to be really cool because it was actually over my shoulder and you're going to get to see the body movements and the track from that sort of more helmet view, but with the body involved. But yeah, we'll have to maybe have to invest in a different mount point. It's not my gear. I was using the Skywalker Studios gear for that one. So yeah, anyway, I don't have an Insta 360. If Insta 360 is listening, then they want to get involved on this. They probably should. Yeah, hit me up.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, we were it was a very hot take that Jiley Campbell was going to get the whole shot on the Stark. I want to know how that turned out.
This failed kind of miserably. Sorry, Jiley. I was on Saturday morning, literally in the first 5 minutes of the coverage. Right, sweet, we're talking about the start. I know who's going to get the start in MX2, I said to Russ. And he's like, what? We're not even that's tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm telling you now, Nostradamus has just come in, and said, oh, Jiley Campbell on the Stark's going to get the whole shot. And sure as shit, he wasn't anywhere near it. So Apparently, the word is that the Stark is very, very good at spinning the wheel in the initial few stages of the over the gate and stuff, and he wasn't used to it. And we're working on some start technique maps to go with the electric bike because he's not used to that. So I'll let him off. But I expect some hole shots at some state title rounds later in the season. So I'll be looking for it then. I'm going to keep calling it. I think that's just going to be my thing now. You know how Weege will say, like, he's picked his championship contender. That guy will go out at round one, but he just keeps calling it all the way through. This is going to be my thing for this year's state titles. Charlie Campbell's going to hole shot motos every time. And whether he does or he doesn't, he's going to hole shot it. That's going to be my call.
Yeah, the pressure's on him now every round.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to point it out to him every time too. So yeah, that was funny, but yeah, it didn't work out. So anyway. All right, let's get to quick little product inspection. We touched on it just then actually about the WR, Yamaha Motor Australia and the WR250. We've got a couple of things that have arrived already. So I've had a little run-in period on it the weekend before just gone, and that's all I got to it for the time being. Now, I like the bike, but as I always say on everything, I need to get comfortable, and I will change some little things to make comfort suit me, so then I can go at the pace that I want to go and know what I'm comfortable with, right? That's always tires, that's always tube and mousse related, and it's always bar and grip related as that first point of call for me. So Michelin and Gas Imports have got me some Starcross 6s sent through. I've got some medium hard compound tyres to put on in that Starcross 6 range. So I'm going to narrow up the rear tyre to make it turn better. And I've also got some Dura Mousses that have come through. So check out our AlwaysMoto 10 code for them to save, but duramousse.com.au. We're going to fit them up probably next week to the Yami. And we're also with the Dura Mousse too. I mentioned this when we did our inspection, Benny, but they actually come when have you ever used the mousse? You probably didn't when your motocross career, because it's not something motocross guys tend to go to.
Yeah, I can't really say I had a career either.
Well, loose term, right? Loose term, broad term.
Yeah, no, I've had some mates who have used them, but I've never used them. No.
Yeah, right. So normally for years there, you just go buy a mousse, you pick the size, that's it, right? You had no choice over pressures, the thickness, all that sort of stuff. Now you can choose like a hard, a soft, a super soft, a motocross version, and they all have different PSI equivalent ratings. So I've actually the original ones that I got that I put in the Sherco were all enduro, or they're super soft ones that they talk about. For this one, for the WR, I actually got the motocross ones put in it so that I can use it on the motocross track leading to these lap previews for the upcoming state title round. So be interesting to see how these go. I'll give some feedback on them shortly. So got some things in the works with the WR250 and Michelin Australia and Duramousse. So some things coming up on the horizon. We'll have plenty of YouTube content on it probably in about 3 weeks. I've got to get one more Stark video out, and then we'll be on to the Yamaha side of things. So something to look forward to, Benny. More of my smiling face on a camera somewhere.
Yeah. We can't have too much.
Oh, I'm sure you can, but yeah, there's plenty of it going around lately. Freaking 18 and a half hours of it on Saturday. So, yes. Now, have you checked, because I didn't check, but is it the same times to watch the racing this weekend? How are we watching the Supercross, Benny?
I haven't checked. I've got to be honest.
Oh, come on, get that phone out. Where's the quad lock case? I want to see it. Get the phone out, make some checking for me.
Well, actually, I've got it here. I took it off tonight so I could watch the comments on the YouTube and just have that sitting over there.
Clever.
But I did the times for Daytona and they didn't get posted. So sorry for everyone who didn't see, because the captain over here didn't post them. It was created, but it didn't get put up.
Look, sometimes when you literally sitting in front of a camera.
He's a busy man.
Yeah. So did I not put that one up? I put the other one up.
Yeah, he put that one up, but he didn't put the times up.
I completely missed that one. Sorry, mate.
No, it's all right. I did send it on Monday last week, so whereas I sent the other one on Friday. So there's a bit of a gap. But we've got race day live at 5 a.m. and then
night show.
Then the night show is at 11 a.m. So similar times again. And then we haven't got anything till the 22nd.
Yeah, we've got a
of March.
weekend off. This is the only weekend off in the Supercross program coming up. So, yeah, but this weekend, obviously at Indianapolis, it's a Triple Crown. So it'll be a little bit more spread out TV coverage. I think there's nothing else happening on this program either. There's no SMX Next class this weekend, and I don't know if there's a KTM Junior either. And I think that's strategically done so that they can actually try and put some more track maintenance into the Indianapolis venue, because we all know Indy for ruts. So hopefully they're trying to groom this place up a bit better across the night show. So we'll see if that plays out or not. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, 5 a.m. race day live, 11 a.m. night show program via the Super Motocross Video Pass for us international viewers. So check it out.
Yeah, and just remember, if you go on a boat, it won't work. Just ask Riley Burgess. If you go on a cruise, it will not work.
Actually, you just brought up something that I forgot to mention. Did I mention it in the beginning of the thing about MX3 motos, or was that before our pre-show?
I think maybe before.
Yeah, maybe before. If I've said it already, I'm sorry. It's been a decent show, and I'm still tanked from the weekend, right? Absolutely gassed. MX3 Moto 1 on the Saturday coverage of our Motorcycle New South Wales broadcast. Go over to the Motorcycle New South Wales YouTube channel and hit subscribe. But go back and find that Moto 1 for MX3, because, oh my God, that was one of the best races you will ever see. Jack Devson of the Yamaha team, Riley Burgess on his KTM, and Boyd's Moto Surgery supported Coastal Motorcycle Centre guy. They were ripping and passing each other back and forth like a dozen times in 3 laps. It was insane. So, and I almost had no voice at the end of that moto. It was crazy. So go and check that out. If you haven't already seen it, it is super worth watching. All right. Weather, Indy. What do you reckon the weather's going to be? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a dome, right? But do you reckon it's going to be cold there?
It's possible.
Yeah, 7 degrees to 12 to 21 degrees. So not too bad. That's Celsius, by the way. But there is drizzle in their forecast. So I'm probably glad not to be a spectator going to Indy this weekend, if it's me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'd love that weather here right now, because it is warm and it is humid, and it's not normally humid here, but it's disgusting. So that weather would be absolutely beautiful right now.
Yeah, it would. I'm so sticky and everything. Like, I apologize for anybody. I think, Benny, you've got it going too, but I've got the fan running tonight. It is unpleasant in this room if I don't have that fan going. So if anyone can hear a little bit of a whoosh or something through the microphones, I apologize, but deal with it. It is bloody warm here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not ideal. I think it was 96% humidity when I looked before the show.
Yeah.
And I am way away from anywhere that has humidity normally. So
yeah, you're in the dry part of the town, mate. So
I got out of the car when I got home this afternoon, and I thought I was on the Gold Coast at Seabus Stadium again. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, fair call. Look, I obviously get up early and do my gym sessions before work, and so I'm normally in the gym at like 5:45, sitting there on the cycle bike starting off, and dead set by 6 o'clock I am wringing wet, and that's 6 a.m. in the morning. It should be cold, and I am disgustingly soaking sweat through everything at that point. It's not cool. It needs to cool down a bit here in Australia at the moment. So yeah. Yeah, anyway, we're off topic, but all good. Now, I just thought of something, Benny. We've got Pivot Pegs as a sponsor on this show. They have they're awesome because they're wide and they pivot and they make it so that you can stand on the bike super easy. I probably need to hit them up for some Yamaha pegs. That'd be a clever idea, Dave, right?
I think so. They need to get a set on there.
Yeah, definitely. So look, we'll remind you should head to pivotpegs.com to get your own. They have them for all motocross, off-road bikes and adventure bikes, so check them out. But yeah, I might try and hit them up about some Yamaha pegs and see if they got them in stock or not. All right, upcoming events. Obviously, it's Indianapolis this weekend for round 9 of the AMA Supercross. That's March 7. The Australian Enduro Championship, the AEC, it kicks off this weekend as well in Roma, Victoria. So I'll be keen to see who comes out on top now that Daniel Milner is retired and just a team manager. So we'll be looking to see who steps up there. That'll be cool. MXGP, Benny, it starts this weekend in Argentina. Roman Febro should be running the number 1 there in the MXGP class. Kaida Wolf stepping up. Guys are on a Yamaha. Hurling's on a Honda. Buddy, Lucas Coonan running the number 5. That'll be weird. Just a lot of stuff to look forward to in MXGP.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It'll be like Dungey all over again.
He looked way weird, eh? They looked too close for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's doing it. Queensland State titles are the following weekend. They're going to kick off at Warwick on March 14-15. That'll be the same weekend that the New South Wales Off-Road Championship kicks off at Maitland. I'm hoping to be doing that one on the Sherco at this point because the Yamaha will not be in race trim by that point.
Are you coming out for mine?
I am undecided on that one just yet. There's an off-roads that's going to be down in Griffith for anyone paying attention. I think it's in June or July.
Yeah, I think it's it's Hillston. I think it's Hillston or Hillstorm or something they call it, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm undecided on that one, but because you are there, I'm actually considering it. So feel privileged. If I've got my new trailer rig by that point, which I'm not meant to, but if for some miraculous reason I do, we'll definitely be doing it just because we want to use the rig. Then the one that we're looking forward to probably the most, Oz Pro MX kicking off in Wonthaggi March 21st. So we won't be there on the ground. I'm actually doing an event myself. It's my wife's 40th birthday on that day. So it was her choice what we got to do that weekend. So I'm off there to that with her. So that'll be that one. Now, the next round of the motocross state titles that I'll be commentating at will be round 2 at Lakes, and that will be March 28, 29, so the last weekend of this month. So looking forward to that. Bloody hell, the Vic motocross titles, I don't know what they're doing, but they're not starting until mid-April, Benny. That's a really late start for them. Same with the Hard Enduro Championship at the Kosciuszko Killer. Same weekend, mid-April. It's really late.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Are they trying to stay away from the New South Wales one? People doing both, or
maybe, but like there's still going to be a little bit of overlap between them because like we've got a 5-round championship this year in New South Wales, so it's actually expanded, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know what the go is there, but yeah, things have definitely changed. So anyway, bit of an odd one. All right, Benny, any final thoughts, mate, on any aspects of this show? One, it was good to have Corey Eisel on, privateer Aussie guy, but yeah.
No, thanks to the boys in the chat. I think of Ryan again for the donation. That was 100%. Cool.
Thank you, Ryan.
First donation. So he's got bragging rights for that.
Look, I was stoked that we had the ability to add this to the show finally because we've been working on this for a little while to get to that point. You got to get so many subscribers, so many hours of watch time. We finally hit all that point. I'm glad that somebody's used it. I bet you nobody uses it for like 4 weeks now, but. We've got one. Thank you, Ryan. So appreciate it, mate. It's nice to kick things off with a nice little donation there. So appreciate it. But yeah, Benny, another week in the books, another show in the books. Thank you, sir.
That's all right. Thank you. Good show.
Definitely good show. And thanks for you guys and girls out there for watching and or listening. Like I keep saying, if you're not watching on the YouTube, please come over and subscribe. You can listen to the podcast from there because the podcast gets loaded up as well. But then there's also the version to watch if you want to, and you can see our smiling faces. Benny's pretty face is a good sight on the show at times. So please subscribe there. But if you just want to listen on the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, it's pretty much on everything. You can listen to just the audio version over those platforms as well. We talked about our group chat, but Instagram, X, follow us on those platforms. If you're reading our articles, you need to head over to fullnoise.com.au. But that's it for another show. Thanks to Technic Motorsport, Dura Moose Australia, Yamaha Motor Australia, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, and Tech 167 3D Printing for the show support. Thanks to the wife and kids and Quadlock. Benny's holding it up there. I wonder if anyone checked out that Ducati one that we were talking about last week, but that's the Chucky Sanders special edition one, so check it out. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done again. Thanks to Motorcycle New South Wales for having me on the YouTube streaming. That was cool. We will see you at the track. if I can find my outro that we will play. There it is.